Detective Sarah Ramirez had worked homicide for 11 years. She'd seen everything. Domestics gone wrong, gang violence, serial cases. But nothing prepared her for the Hollow Creek murders. 3 bodies in 6 weeks. All found in their homes. All drained completely of blood. No forced entry. No signs of struggle. Just empty bodies arranged peacefully in their beds like they'd gone to sleep and never woken up. The only evidence was the marks to puncture wounds on each victim's neck. Medical examiner said they looked like snake bites. Large snake. But the toxicology came back clean. No venom. No drugs. Nothing in their systems at all. Just dead. Empty. And the strangest part, each victim had reported the same thing to friends before they died. They were being watched. Followed. They described a man, tall, pale, too thin, wearing old-fashioned clothes, a suit that looked Victorian. He'd appear at grocery stores, coffee shops, always at a distance, always staring, never approaching, just watching, smiling. The friends thought it was paranoia, stress, until their loved ones turned up dead. Sarah worked the case obsessively. She built a timeline, found connections. All 3 victims had visited the same place 2 weeks before their deaths. The Riverside Historical Museum. Small place. Local history. They'd gone for different reasons. One was a tourist. One was researching family genealogy. One was a student doing a project. But they'd all been there. Sarah visited the museum. Talked to the curator, an elderly woman named Margaret. Asked about unusual visitors. Strange incidents. Margaret got quiet. Led Sarah to a back room. There's a portrait, Margaret said. Oil painting. Been in our collection for 90 years. Donated by a local estate. It's of a man named Silas Crowe. He lived here in the 1880s. Wealthy. Mysterious. Nobody knew where his money came from. He built a mansion on Hollow Creek. Threw lavish parties. But guests started disappearing. Not immediately. They'd go home. Then weeks later they'd die. Always in their sleep. Always bloodless. The townspeople eventually stormed his mansion. Found bones. Dozens of them. Buried in the cellar. They hanged Silas Crowe from an oak tree in 1887. Margaret showed Sarah the portrait. Sarah's blood went cold. It was him. The man from the victim's descriptions. Exactly. Same gaunt face. Same period suit. Same unsettling smile. Margaret whispered, "There's more." People who spent a long looking at the portrait, they report seeing things. The eyes following them. The smile widening. And then they start seeing him. Outside the painting. In their lives. We took it down 4 years. Kept it in storage. But the board insisted we display it again. History is history, they said. Sarah asked who was on the board. Margaret pulled out a roster. Sarah recognized her names. Recent donors. Prominent community members. She visited them. Both dead. Found in their beds. Drained. Sarah returned to the museum that night. After closing, she brought a hammer. She was going to destroy the painting. And this, when she entered the gallery, Silas was waiting. Not in the painting. Standing in front of it. Physical, real. He looked at her and said, "You can't kill what was never alive, detective. And I've been so patient, so hungry, and this town has forgotten me. But I will never forget them. I've been sleeping in oil and wood for decades, but now I'm awake and I'm owed centuries of blood." Sarah pulled her gun. Fired. The bullets passed through him. He didn't flinch. Didn't move. Just smiled wider. She ran. Made it to her car. Drove home. Locked every door. Every window. But she knew. She'd seen him. And that was the rule. Once you truly see him, not just the painting, once you see him standing in front of you real and solid, you're marked. Your food. She had 2 weeks. Sarah spent them investigating. Trying to find a way to stop him. She learned Silas Crowe wasn't human. Never had been. He'd come from somewhere else. Somewhere old. Wearing human-shape-like clothes. Feeding slowly. Carefully. Never enough to draw attention. 1 or 2 people a year. 4 decades. 4 centuries maybe. The hanging in 1887 didn't kill him. You can't kill something that's not alive. They trapped him. A local witch, people said. She bound him to his portrait, locked him inside. As long as the painting existed, he was contained, but if enough people looked at it, focused on it, fed it with their attention and fear, the binding would weaken, and eventually he'd step out. That's what was happening. The museum's decision to display it again after 80 years of storage, the increased visitors, the attention, he'd gathered enough energy to manifest, to hunt. Sarah tried to warn people, filed reports, but nobody believed her. Vampire, they said. You're saying it's a vampire. She was put on administrative leave, ordered to see a psychiatrist. 2 weeks passed. On day 15, Sarah was alone in her apartment when she felt it. The temperature dropping, the lights flickering. She turned around. Silas was standing in her living room, solid, real. His smile was terrible. He spoke. You've done your research, detective. You know what I am. You know you can't stop me. But I'm curious. Why try? Sarah's voice shook, but she answered. Because that's my job. Protect people, even if I die doing it. Silas tilted his head. Admirable. Futile, but admirable. Tell me, did you find the witch's name? The one who bound me? Sarah had. She'd dug through archives, found trial records. The witch's name was Eliza Raven, burned at the stake in 1888, 1 year after they hanged Silas. The town blamed her for the deaths, said she'd summoned him, but really she'd tried to stop him. The binding was her last act. Silas nodded. Eliza. Yes. Brave woman. Strong magic. But magic fades. Bindings break. And I am so very hungry. He moved toward her. Sarah closed her eyes. But the bite never came. She heard a voice. Not Silas. Feminine. Soft. Open your eyes, child. Sarah looked. There was a woman standing between her and Silas. Translucent. Glowing faintly. Wearing 19th century clothes. Eliza Raven. The witch spoke. You called my name, detective. Names have power. Even after death. Silas hissed. You're gone, Eliza. Burned dead. Eliza smiled. Death isn't the end for those who bargain. I gave my life to bind you once. I'll use my death to bind you again. She raised her hands. Light poured from her palms. Silas screamed. He was pulled backward, toward the painting. Sarah realized she'd brought it. In her research frenzy, she'd stolen it from the museum. It was leaning against her wall. Silas fought, clawed at the air. But Eliza was stronger. He was sucked into the canvas, screaming. The painting went dark. Eliza turned to Sarah. Burn it. Burn it now and scatter the ashes in running water. The binding won't hold forever, but it will buy time. Years. Maybe decades. Sarah nodded. Eliza faded. Sarah burned the painting in her bathtub, flushed the ashes, filed a report saying she'd destroyed evidence in a moment of mental breakdown. Lost her badge. But the murders stopped. For now. 3 years later, Sarah works private security. She monitors estate sales, auctions, art dealers, looking for the painting, because she knows something like Silas doesn't have just one portrait. He's been alive for centuries. He's had hundreds of faces painted, dozens of bindings, and every few decades, one surfaces, gets displayed, gathers attention, weakens, and he steps out, feeds, until someone stops him again. It's a cycle, has been for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. And Sarah knows something else. She's seen the records, similar deaths in other cities, other states. Always the same pattern, always near museums or galleries, always around old portraits. Silas Crow isn't unique. He's one of many. Things that wear human faces, things that feed slowly, patiently, things that hide in art and emerge when the time is right. Sarah hunts them now. Unofficially, when she finds a painting, She burns it. She's burned for so far. But there are more. Always more. And sometimes, late at night, she wonders. Every portrait in every museum. Every old painting of a pale aristocrat with an unsettling smile. How many are prisons? How many are just waiting? And how many have already opened?